Hey guys, it's Jordan here from Switch Watch, back again with another review, this time of Sky Rogue on the Nintendo Switch. Thanks to Fractal Phase for providing this review copy, so I can tell you guys if it's worth your hard-earned cash or not. Now the question of today is, what is your favourite flight arcade game? Let us know in the comments below. Let's get on with it. Just like when you wait ages for a bus and then two come along at once, straight after Manticore we've got another flying shooter game in the form of Sky Rogue. These are very different beasts however. Originally released on PC last year, it's made its way to the Nintendo Switch with added motion controls. While I can forgive a lack of story in a flight combat arcade game, it is still a shame that it's not here. It's a game with a high price, so I think it's fair to criticize it for lacking the story. They could have tried to implement something here. But anyways, they didn't. Let's move on. In the audio department, you've got a rocking, exhilarating soundtrack that keeps up the energy of the game very well. The soundtrack being composed by Phonetic Hero, and they've done a grand job to emulate the classic feeling of an arcade game, blitzing through the air, getting deep in dogfights and bomb runs. It's a classic good feel soundtrack that really elevates the gameplay for me. It's so good you can buy it separately on Steam. In one of the game modes, there's purposely no music, and the fact it's absent sticks out like a sore thumb. Without it, it can feel somewhat bland. That's how good it is. Visually, the game is looking back to some of the mid-90s arcade games for inspiration. It's very simple, almost too much for me. I like the crafts that you can fly, but the environments and buildings you set out to destroy are just a step too far when it comes to how basic they are. I do enjoy the crisp, clear colours though. They really pop off the TV and Switcher screen very well. It's bright and colourful, really welcoming to the eyes. As far as performance, well, it's not perfectly smooth, but frame drops weren't exactly terrible or constant, just a little here and there, usually when pulling upwards, and it didn't bother me so much. It's certainly a shame that it's not perfect, since with the visual style you would think that it would be pretty easy. The game does have a stability problem too. In my review copy, the game would very often freeze on loading screens to new levels. And when I say often, I mean a good dozen or so times during my few hours with Sky Rogue. Now you don't lose any progress made, but you still have to annoyingly close down the game from the home menu screen and start it up again, load it all up. It really took me out of the experience quite a bit. We've been informed that a patch has already been submitted and may be ready in time for launch, but it's not 100% certain. So just be warned, you may experience this, you may not, I'm not sure. So Sky Rogue is a flight combat arcade game which isn't the most common of genres around these days, especially on consoles, although Juan recently got his hands on Manticore which he somewhat enjoyed. This game's added twist is of course the roguelike gameplay. You begin on day 1, and each mission objective you complete will progress to another day. Things escalate over the missions to make things more difficult, but objectives are chosen at random. If you die, it's game over, back to the beginning. It's not full roguelike though, since you do have a tech level that will stay with you even after you die. These give you access to unlocks such as different weapons, upgrades, or even new crafts to pilot. This is my favourite kind of roguelike experience. I like having at least some progress to take with me to make me feel like I'm actually getting somewhere in the game rather than banging my head against a wall. There are not too many things to do in Sky Rogue. You have your standard single player portion in which you fly off onto random missions to take out enemy targets, whether on land, sea or air, and return back to base, rinse and repeat until you get shot down. This is probably where you'll spend most of your time. The game controls pretty well, even if it takes quite a bit of getting used to. If you're used to playing flight arcade games, then you'll probably fit in snugly, although it has been a while for me myself. It's certainly not in the realism levels, but it's not exactly full-blown ridiculousness arcade either. It's a nice balance, I think. There are various camera perspectives to choose from, including a cockpit angle, which will please many of you, although I definitely prefer the standard viewpoint, as I usually do in these kind of games, and racing games too. Third person is just where it's at for me. A surprising addition to the Switch port are motion controls. You can use the Joy-Cons to pretend that you're a real fighter pilot in a movie or something. Basically, you'll hold the left Joy-Con sideways and you twist it to change the acceleration, either to speed up or slow down. The right Joy-Con is used as the flight stick to move your plane around. There are other buttons that are kind of awkwardly used, like switching your weapons and locking on and so on, and it really takes some getting used to, but it's surprisingly fun, and I'm sure you guys will enjoy the novelty of it, even if you won't use it as your primary playstyle. If you're like me, then you'll probably just stick with the standard controls, which I definitely feel more at home with. They are perfectly adequate, but I'm sure you'll take some time to get used to them too. I do need to take umbrage with the tutorial, which is really quite poor, not because of bad explanation or such, but because the instructions cover all the important areas of the screen and you can't see anything. It was kind of ridiculous and not well thought out. It's a minor point, but it did get the game off to a bad start for me. After I played for about half an hour or so, it really started to click better. The main mode will have you progressing through different days. Each day has one specific target you need to take down, whether it be a building, fighters, battleship. You take them down and then return to base. This means missions can be over in a flash if you want to do a quick run, or you can take your time to take down additional targets and earn more money for some upgrades that aren't permanent. It's all randomly generated to the targets and islands you fly over, but they don't feel too different overall, I think. The more you play, it starts to feel more and more familiar. You start to see patterns and such. There are a nice amount of crafts that you can pilot if you unlock them with your tech level. They have their own stats that make them feel different. Some are faster, some can take more hits or carry heavier weaponry. I didn't notice a huge difference, but it was nice trying them all out, and unlocking them always brought a bit of excitement. Outside of the main campaign mode, there are a couple of extra modes. There's endless mode and free flight. These didn't add any real depth to the game since they're only slight variations of the main game. Endless means just that. Unlike the main game, you just keep on going. There is no end. Free flight mode is a musicless journey over a procedurally generated island with no particular goal in mind. It's just a little boring, and I didn't see any reason to keep playing this after about 10 minutes. But there is a split screen co-op mode, which I'm sure plenty of you will like. Split right down the middle, the screen allows you and a friend to tackle the main campaign mode. Sadly, this doesn't change how the missions are structured or anything, as it's pretty much the same thing but with two people. I didn't have too much of a chance to test this mode out, but I did see a lot of potential in it being quite fun, as you and your co-op buddy can look out for each other in the skies. At £14.99 and $19.99, I think there's a decent amount of value in Skyrogue. It's not a bargain or anything considering the fairly low amount of content, but I'm sure you'll want to come back to this at various points for a quick 20-minute blast here and there. The price could be lower of course, but it matches the Steam price, so you won't feel you're getting robbed blind by Switch tax or anything. Overall, Skyrogue is an interesting diversion of a game. It's definitely not going to be the main game that you're playing at that moment, but will probably occupy a nice side game, acting as a palate cleanser to whatever big game you have going on. It's a shame that it lacks enough depth to suck you in for longer gameplay sessions, but a 20-minute burst here and there will probably be your limits. In that case, it's quite enjoyable, just don't expect too much more than that. If it was just a couple of pounds cheaper, I wouldn't have too much of a problem in recommending it. As it is, it's a good, solid 7 out of 10. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this review of Skyrogue. If you're a regular Switch watcher, then leave a like and a comment below answering the question of the day. What are your favourite flight arcade games? Personally, I have much love for the second Star Wars Rogue Squadron game on the GameCube. What a game that was. Anyways, if you're new here, then hit that subscribe button. We're doing a massive giveaway once we hit 10k subs, which hopefully won't be too long, so be sure to get in on that action. Finally, head over to switchwatch.co.uk for news, reviews and features. It's always worth a daily look guys. I've been Jordan from Switchwatch, and I'll see you next time. Take care.